Hello everyone, I'm your hostess with the mostest 8-second gaming, and in today's video we are going to be giving you guys 5 tips to get godlike aim in Apex. Everyone wants to be able to flex on their homies or impress that e-girl with their one clip, so don't worry, I'm here to help you guys out. But before we jump into things, if you guys are really looking to take your Apex skill to the next level, then you need to check out the GameLeap website right now. Over there we have top level coaches, including myself, creating the best, most highly informative guides. Our coaches have been to Predator, they've been to ALGS finals, they know what they're talking about and they're sharing that information with you. So click the link in the description, pick yourself up a membership and start to improve today. But okay, with that out of the way, now let's actually hop into these aiming tips. And to start off with, tip number 1, recoil patterns are not important. Now I know everybody probably just had a very collective gasp, but trust me, hear me out, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Now actually getting into recoil patterns and understanding them all is important if you really want to be super micro accurate, yes. But to the average Apex player, the majority of people that are watching this video, you are not going to be able to learn every single recoil pattern in Apex. There are too many guns, it's too chaotic, you're never actually going to be able to kind of store it all in your brain and be able to pull it out at a moment's notice. You're going to get them mixed up, you're going to start to panic, and it's going to actually cause you to have worse aim. For the average Apex player, the only thing you need to know is to pull straight down. If you look at the recoil patterns in Apex, the majority of them are straight up with a little bit of snaking left and right. There's very little deviation from that. So if you just pull straight down, you're going to be hitting a decent amount of bullets. I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret here. The 301, I never use recoil patterns on that. I pull straight down and I hit a lot of one clips with it, but let's keep that between us. When you actually get into it, the less complicated you can make something, the better. So when you're in a fight, if all you're thinking is to pull straight down, then you're going to be hitting a lot more bullets. You're going to look like you have better aim. And over time, you can start to incorporate more and more recoil control into it. Say you want to learn the Flatlines recoil pattern. The Flatline is a very popular gun. A lot of people like to use it. It's very good, but it does have a complex recoil pattern in the game of Apex. Compared to everything else, it can be a little bit easy, but compared to Apex guns, it's pretty hard. So as you start to pull straight down, you start to get more comfortable with it. Eventually, you will understand the recoil pattern of the Flatline and start to be a little bit more confident with the side-to-side motions as well. But that's something you build over time, and as you're getting to that knowledge, pull straight down. Trust me guys, it'll work. But now let's move into tip number 2, and this is going to be your reticle color. Yes, this actually does matter, so please pay attention. Reticles are super important because it's what you're going to be aiming at. You do want to see your reticle. And you don't want a reticle that blends easily into backgrounds because that can get lost in fights. If you have a blue reticle and you're fighting near water, say on Storm Point, it can get lost in the water, you won't really know what you're aiming at. Or maybe it's a blue one and you're looking up at the sky and that gets blended in there. Or maybe it's an orange one, it can get lost on the edge of ring. There's a lot of situations that can happen like that and you don't want it to. And on the flip side of that, you don't want one that is too distracting and too out in your face. And if it's too bright, too distracting, too neon-y, that can actually cause issues as well because instead of tracking your target, you're going to be tracking your sight. And if you do that, again, it can lead to issues and you not having as good of aim. Now, there are a few different reticles that are good, but I do recommend one over them all, and that is a green reticle. The color for this is 02550. That is a really solid green color that you can use in every single situation. Yes, on Storm Point, there are some green areas where it does kind of blend into the background, but this is where science is actually your best friend and comes into play because our eyes naturally are able to distinguish greens easier. It's just the way that our eyes work. You have an easier time seeing greens. So even if it does slightly blend into the background, you're still going to have an easier time picking it out because science. But with that out of the way, let's move into tip number 3, and this is going to be to track your target, not your reticle. Now, we did mention this very briefly in the tip before, but this is where we're actually going to kind of break it down and go over it a little bit more. A lot of people do have a tough time tracking strays because they get too focused on their reticle. They think, hey, the reticle is where I'm going to be shooting, so I should be focused on this. If I get a really good focus and tunnel vision on my reticle, then I'll have perfect aim because I'll see exactly where my bullets are going. But that's not actually the case. Your muscle memory should always know where your reticle is because it's going to be the center of the screen. If you then train your eye to track your target, you're going to have an easier time following them because if they're strafing, going left, right, changing their height, crouch spamming, stuff like that, it's going to make it very tough if you're just focusing on your reticle because as soon as you see them move, it's going to be a little bit too late because you're not focusing on them. This can cause you to miss your shots and lose fights because of that. But if you're tracking them and not your reticle, then you're going to see things a lot faster and register them a lot faster. A good analogy for this is for any football players out there. Whenever you're going for a tackle on someone, you always watch their hips because just like Shakira said, hips don't lie. Wherever their hips are facing, that's where they're going. So you track that instead of something else. It's the same thing with this. If you tunnel vision too hard on the reticle, you're gonna get juked out. Now this is gonna be one that is gonna take some time because if you are trained to focus on your reticle, you have to break that habit. So you have to be reminding yourself every time you get into a fight. It's not gonna be easy, but that's where our fourth thing comes into play. So now let's talk about tip number 4, and that is abusing the firing range. Now Respawn gave a lot of love to the firing range now, and you can absolutely abuse it. The dummies are a great way to get a feel for every weapon in the game, all the recoil patterns, and start to really train yourself to focus on the target and not your reticle. This is an environment where there is no stress. You can have the dummies not shoot back at you, just strafe, left, right, change their directions, and you can really get the feel of tracking them. The firing range is so strong right now. You guys absolutely need to be using it. And I know a lot of creators say this, but trust me guys, we say it with good reason. You should be warming up for 10 to 15 minutes every day before you actually get into games. This warm-up time is important. This is where you can actually start to fine tune and dial things in. And the firing range is just such a good place to do that. Now you can also 1v1 with a friend if there is somebody that you have that you can actually do this with. That's also a good way. But even if you don't, if you're just a solo player, hop in, play against the dummies, it's perfectly fine. Now there are other options if you are on PC. For example, you can use an aim training software like GameLeap, that's one that I use, or you could use R5 Reloaded. Now I will give a little bit of a warning with R5 Reloaded. Respawn has expressed displeasure with it. So if you have your account linked to it and one day they decide that they don't want it anymore, your account could potentially get banned. R5 Reloaded uses their resources and aspects and intellectual properties, so if they don't want it anymore, it is within their rights to completely ban everything around it. And that could mean your account goes bye-bye. But R5 is a great way because it uses the actual guns from the game and all the source code and everything like that, so it feels exactly like the game because it is the game. You can get a lot of experience and playtime just being in there. And I've seen a lot of people just massively increase their aim because they just sat in R5 Reloaded. But the aim trainers, the firing range, they're both really good. You're just going to be increasing your hand-eye coordination and it's going to work for you overall. And jumping into tip number 5, this is going to be movement prediction. Now, a couple of you might be going, well, this is an aim guide, so how is movement prediction going to help him with my aim? Well, just hold on to your hats because I'm going to explain. A lot of aim comes down to crosshair placement. Where you have your crosshair on the screen is very important because where you have your crosshair is where your bullets are going to go. And I see a lot of people not understand how to predict movement, and then they have to move their crosshair super far when somebody peeks out from a corner. That takes time, and then you might not actually be on the person before, so you start to shoot and miss half your clip before you're actually on top of them. But if you start to understand movement prediction and how the enemy is going to play the game, then you can start to put your crosshair where they're going to be peeking out from. Then it's already on their head, ready to go, and you can start to shoot them as soon as they come out. There's less movement and less room for error. If you have to flick across your entire screen, you might overflick, you might underflick. You can cause yourself to miss a lot if you have to move your reticle. The less you have to move it when somebody peeks out, the better. So just start to think about how you would move in a fight. Where would you peek out from? Where would you go? And you can start to use that to actually predict where the enemy's going to go and start to have your crosshair on them just ready to go, ready to shoot. This is something that you can use to be looking like a hacker. Have you ever tried to peek out somewhere and somebody's already shooting you and you go, whoa, that guy has walls? Well, sometimes you might be right, but other times it's just because they have really good movement prediction. This is definitely one of those underrated tips that not a lot of people talk about, but trust me, once you really understand this, this is going to actually skyrocket your aim. So this is one that I do recommend that you really focus on when you're playing. Have this in the front of your mind and just on the front burner because this is one that you really want to work on. But let me know your favorite aim tip in the comments down below, and if you guys want to stay up to date with the latest greatest Apex Legends tips, tricks, and news, don't forget to smash the like and subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. Once again, I made Second Game, and I'll see you guys in the next one.